So one question I was going to ask you about the entrepreneur circle, because now, I mean, there are so many different masterminds, mentors, gurus, things you can join, online programs. There are thousands of them, aren't there? You know, and it's so easy to access US gurus and coaches. You can get access to anyone. So I often think Entrepreneur Circle was quite ahead of the curve in its way, in that it was the first thing that I knew of in the UK that offered this kind of support, mentorship. So how did that happen, that kind of the idea or the thought, well, I'll start the Entrepreneur Circle? Because a lot of people will start businesses thinking, well, they're doing that and they're doing quite well out of it. You know, there'll be some benchmark of that business has done it successfully. Well,
Well, EC started. I had a very large franchise business, still got the best of it. It's a big part of my business. And in 2008, so about the time you were starting in business, was like that was the darkest time of the economy. That, you know, the banks had all crashed and stuff, and that was the media was full of doom and gloom. And I thought I ought to run some training around the end of that year, coming into 2009, for my franchisees, and I called it Recession training. And so, catchy name. And I pulled them all into our training centre in Solihull. And we ran it, I think we ran it 2 days. We ran this training for 2 different groups. And the first day went really, really well, and they really loved it. And I said, the second day, I said, like, on the way out tonight, I said to my guy, I said, just film people coming down the stairs and ask them what they'd say, because there's a whole bunch of franchisees that haven't come. Right. So they did this bit of filming, and I said, well, send it out to the franchisees that haven't come. And the guy that did it made a mistake. And I said, I wish this was true. I wish we'd done this deliberately, because it's genius marketing, but it was a genuine cock-up. And what he did, rather than send it out to the franchisees, he sent this video out to the customers of those franchisees. He clicked the wrong button on this. Okay. So it went out, rather than going to like 100 franchisees, it went out to 10,000 of their customers. And he realised what he'd done straight away. And so within 10 minutes, he followed it with a second email that said, whoops, sorry, that last email wasn't meant for you, it's only meant for our franchisees. Please don't watch the video. So you know what happened? So this was on a Friday afternoon, and that weekend, I got a call from my MD on Sunday. He said, no, we've got a problem. And it's like 12,000 people have watched this video, and it meant for 100 people. So we came in on the Monday morning to a massive inbox full of stuff, and most people saying, oh, we're in trouble, not to worry, sort of thing, and 1 or 2 saying, how dare you, fuck off, that's a disgrace. But in there were a few dozen people saying, this looks really interesting, this how can I get this training? And that was the very first time that I had thought that we might have, and it never occurred to me that we had anything in our business that might be useful to others. Because I'd always, right from the very beginning, I recognised that I've made this leap into my own boss. Other people had done it before, like learn from them. So I'd been very proactive going out there and this was back in 2002, 2003. Dial-up modems and stuff. You remember, you're too young, But we're having to try and there was no broadband and stuff like that. But I'd consumed stuff and learned stuff, and I'd gone onto a few events over in America and other places and stuff, and I got good at the things that mattered in my business. And I thought everybody did that. And it just never, because we all think we're normal, don't we? And we all think how we live our lives or run our business is normal. And I just thought everybody did this if you run a business, what you do. But it turns out that it was very abnormal. And so when we did run 3 events for these customers of our best stops, 3 different, 1 in Manchester, 1 in the Midlands, and 1 down in London. And the response was amazing. And it was like by the end of it, they said, well, what next? And we had nothing else. And so that was when the Entrepreneur Circle was born. That's when I remember we should do something here, because you're right, there was nothing around then. And even online learning, this is beginning of 2010 when this happened. It was nothing like the world that it is today. But that is how it started. So I ran a webinar in March 2010. I ran a webinar from my office at 6 o'clock on a Wednesday evening, and by 8:30 we had 500 members of Entrepreneur Circle.
Oh my God.
Wow. And it kicked off, and it became something. I mean, it became a life of its own. I mean, you've been around for quite a long time, and it's got such a great community, and and we've tried, and like you said, we've done some things that we have to do differently now, and we had a few mistakes on the way. But fundamentally, we focus on how to help people get and keep customers. And we can teach them, we can coach them, we can mentor them, however it helps, because that's the space. Because in business, if you've got enough customers coming through the door, everything else gets taken care of. All the other, you can write checks to solve any other problem if you've got enough customers coming through the door, and that's what the focus is.
Okay.
So that was a long answer. Sorry.
No, not at all. It was a perfect answer. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, so obviously one of the things Entrepreneur Circle does is teach people on using, let's say, Facebook ads and different versions of social media for getting customers through their door.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've always been really interested in with you, and I remember this back to, is it the business boot camp or the 2-day course? And it's the first time I heard it there. And you've always talked about how, well, actually, you're not on social media yourself. I think you've got a LinkedIn profile. But you haven't tweeted for I don't know how many years.
5 years now.
5 years. Have you never had an Instagram profile?
Never had an Instagram profile.
I feel like you have had Facebook, but maybe
I have got a Facebook account. I don't log onto it.
No. So I find your approach, and I feel like it's very different to 99% of other business gurus, entrepreneurs out there. That obviously you have Entrepreneur Circle; they have their own profiles, and I see that on Instagram, and it's actively used but you personally have decided not to. Now, there's also a massive school of thought that, people getting to understand and know and like you and buy from you is very important. And now I know you have done that by the means like books and your videos and things like that. But so let's take, for example, Gary Vaynerchuk. So he always talks about he will reply to messages directly. He thanks people. He appreciates the attention. He loves all that. Now you have taken a very different approach. I just wanted to delve a bit more into why you've taken that approach. I do also feel like it ties in well with your personal life, because obviously when Nigel does the MBTVs, a lot of them will come from when you're on holiday. Yeah,
places that I go. Yeah.
So, and I know that holidays and personal time is very important to you, and it gets planned out in the calendar in advance. Yeah. So, first question around the social media. Why have you decided to do that? So you've basically I was okay. Yes. It's very. I think it's very interesting. It might not be interesting at all, but we were. I was one of the very early adopters of social media in this country, and in 2009, so 10 years ago, I compiled and we sold a program called My SMB to train people how to become social media managers for businesses, which is, talk about being ahead of its time. That's like over 10 years ago. And so I'm very aware of what's going on with social media. But I took the decision in 2014 to effectively step away from it. And initially I did it as an experiment. And initially I did it to see what would happen to my business if I was not tweeting 10 times a day and updating status on Facebook or whatever else. Would my business suffer? And guess what, Emma? It hasn't.
It didn't suffer at all. And now, just to be clear, I still use social media. We spent over £50,000 last month on Facebook ads. I recognise Facebook as the most lucrative marketing platform that has ever existed. So, and I'm very happy to plug into it and to use it to market our business. But what I discovered is that I don't need to be on there all the time. And I've tried a number of different things. I had someone running it for me for a little bit, because when you're running a business, because there's a lot goes on here. We've got like 70 staff downstairs. There's so much going on. And if I'm going to do that, I have to be doing it consistent. And I decided that my life would be diminished if I was sharing everything. There's also a sign that I picked up from a street vendor in New York, and it hangs above the door in my office. You've seen it. And it says, "Never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups." And the truth of it is, there's a lot of stupid people in business who, if they invested their time that they spend on social media doing something actually way more worthwhile, their business will be much more successful. And it's not that what they're doing is kind of useless. It's just that if you look at, what would I want to do to promote, whatever the business is, I'm an HR consultant, what's the best way of getting new customers? And social media might be on there, but it'd be like number 27 and 28 on the list.
Even now?
And I think so. In terms of regular common or garden, what we're up to and retweeting and sharing stuff, there's loads more important things I'd be doing. It'd be certainly not in the top 10. And these people that are out there dicking about, convincing themselves internally, probably because of a lack of thought, that they haven't properly thought it through, but they think that they're busy doing the right things, but they're just following the crowd. And again, another thing that I learned very early on in business, you can split any industry or sector, you can split it into 5 segments, and there's 1% at the top that are crushing it, really wealthy, there's 4% doing great, there's 15% that are getting there. But then there's 60% in any industry that are getting by, and there's 20% that are struggling. Now that means 80% of people in every sector and industry, whatever you are, 80% of people are either getting by or struggling. And that was never ever the plan. And when you look at what they're doing, don't do what they do. And they're the people, predominantly, that are on social media all the time. Yeah. And I've never met Gary Vee. And I do see some of his stuff. I do pay attention. And I have a lot of time and very respectful for Gary. Gary Vee's in the 1%.
Yeah.
And he is an exception. And in that regard, I don't think he's not helpful as a role model, I don't think. A lot of his messages are very good.
Yes.
And so I'm not dissing him at all. But most people are not Gary Vee. And most people won't ever get to be Gary Vee. And in the time and effort they put in to, as I say, posting and tweeting and stuff like that, if they put it into more considered, proven marketing that has to deliver a return, because it's trackable, then you do other things. You just wouldn't do it. And that's my logic. At the end of the day, I am agnostic about it, other than I do stuff that delivers results. And if things deliver results, I'll do them. And if they don't deliver results, I won't. And I thought social media for me was not delivering results. So I thought I'll try without it. And I mean, we're 5 times the size we were back then. Without it.
Love that.
So that's the key. So it's not a prejudice at all. If I thought it was the right thing to do to help me go, I'd do it. It's not like a principle piece, but you don't need to do it, and most people don't need to do it. And Facebook ads, on the other hand, big deal. LinkedIn, brilliant. If you're looking to connect with people and get appointments, bloody tremendous. And we do a lot of work with LinkedIn in our agency. We're doing some great work on LinkedIn for some of our clients, just connecting with their ideal customers and reaching out and saying, can we have a chat? Yeah, but not spouting bollocks.
General fluff. No, I get that completely. And Gary Vee has got the whole 100 million infrastructure behind him to enable him to then do that and give it
but I just don't think he's a helpful model because of, I know he had to come from somewhere and build it, and I get that, but it's like me looking at footballers, we're not all going to play like Sergio Aguero, because it's not who we are. And Gary Vee's he's the rock star, isn't he, of that speech. That's not what people are going to become.
Totally get that.